Good. And we are live. Indeed. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, it does not look like good evening. At my side, it's good afternoon. It looked like that, but it's evening indeed, 8 p.m. Here, basically. And usually how it goes basically to this side, if I may call it like that. Tonight, we have a special guest. I must be honest with that. And tonight, I have a Indeed. And let me make a good sentence for introduction because I'm thinking a couple of days, and now you get how it's called a little bit. You get like, excited and all that stuff. So I met the tonight guest. I started following him in December, and basically I was quite surprised in the last 3-4 months on what he is doing, how he is doing, and all that stuff. And to give a story to all the people that will watch or that are watching now, basically with my 20 years of IT experience, IT, cloud, DevOps, security, and all that stuff, I have been, I have received a lot of, job opportunities and all of that. And what was the game changer? Tonight's guest also, I tried to invite him in February because it was quite motivating for myself, first of all, even that I'm not in his field, if I may call like that. But watching what he is doing on the social networks like LinkedIn as one of the most professional for looking for a new job, change career. Tonight, I have, if I may say like that, the most creative talent director at our show, and his name is Oli, which I want immediately to give applause, kudos, flowers if there was in person and all that stuff. Mate, I must be honest, the biggest kudos, the big everything, because in the last 10 years, 5 years, let's call it, not 10, for me was quite boring. Hey, Martin, are you interested for this job? And then they just put the skills, what the company, when you can start. So tonight, welcome to the most creative talent director, I would say. And Oli, welcome to the show.
No, thank you very much for the introduction, Martin. I think I'm going to have to take some of what you've just said there. I'll get it onto my LinkedIn profile. Most creative talent acquisition person in the world. But no, really, thanks for inviting me on. Like you mentioned, I've probably over the last 2 years now really started investing on LinkedIn in terms of content creation. Totally changed my model of how I work in the talent acquisition space. But yeah, I guess would it be interesting to give you a bit of a background in terms of how I landed in this world and why I guess how I've ended up being so dedicated into the Microsoft world.
Indeed.
Typical sort of story, really. Most people don't grow up thinking I'm going to be a recruiter when I grow up, Mum. It's typical story of almost falling into the industry. So I went to university. I did social psychology at university, which probably plays a part in terms of why I like doing this job. After that, went traveling, did ski season, played around for it a little bit, and then had to get a job basically, and thought, wow, why not recruitment? And at the time, there was a role in a local recruitment agency, and it was a recruiter for this thing called cloud and infrastructure. And I was like, what the hell is that? So interviewed it, sort of, got a bit of an understanding of what it was. And just so happened that at the time, which was back end of 2016, 2017, the business that I was going to work for wanted someone to come in and dedicate purely to recruiting this new-ish thing called Azure. Or Azure, depending on how you say it. So I sort of fell into it. And ever since then, the last 8-9 years, that's all I've done is work in the Azure and Microsoft space, helping people with their careers and helping business to grow their teams. And it's been a fun journey.
Indeed. But does it, now it triggers another question immediately to my head. Working with so many Microsoft people, let's call it like that, because that's the ecosystem, it didn't come to you, hey, I look this guy, he's earning a good amount of money, he's DevOps, he's security. Why should I not start learning this and maybe HR can wait a little bit, and then I can become security, DevOps, cloud
Yeah,
admin, or all of that stuff. Does it comes to
no,
your mind from time to time? I must be honest now.
yeah, it's in part, but I'm not that way inclined technically. So whilst I've got a good understanding of the technology, and obviously I spend every day talking to Azure architects or DevOps engineers or leaders within the Microsoft space, and conceptually I've got a really good understanding of it all. I just don't think I'd get that excited from the actual doing of it. And for me, it's the people side, it's the interactions that I have, and especially at the level talking to people that are exploring new career opportunities with me. I really enjoy that sort of career coach side of it. And then on the client side, I really enjoy the business impact side of it. So we work quite strategically with quite a lot of our customers to help them to get to a point where they know what they're going to hire, or road mapping what's coming downstream in terms of Microsoft technologies and how they then adapt their talent attraction strategy around that. So yeah, yes, seeing some of the big salaries for some of the big roles in the tech space is always tempting. But yeah, I think naturally, I think you mentioned it, I'm quite sort of creative in terms of nature. So that feeds in a lot in terms of what I do and how I do this role now.
Indeed. And everything that I said on the intro, because how you grow in your career, you face with more work. I have more work like your work, if I may call it like that. So work with people, and every day, and not every day it's your day. Let's be honest. Someday you didn't sleep well, you are nervous, you have some private issues, this and that. But there is, people to people communication, and that I still think is the toughest job. There is no issue in the world tougher than the people work, if I may call like that, where you need to, adjust your even character sometimes just to get on that level. I think there was one very rich guy, very smart guy, and he was doing really stupid TV shows, if I make a stupid. I mean, not really stupid, but somehow really naive, if I may call it like that, TV shows. But then after a couple of years, people came in, he wrote a text for this famous song, he wrote this and that. And one person, I think, asked him, hey, you're so smart, why you're doing this naive TV show? It's really silly a little bit for such a... my level goes a little bit below, just to be adjusted with the people level that are around me. And that's really tough sometimes, even even in the senior, junior, major. I think what we see on our daily purposes, you cannot be on the same page with some junior, and there is some senior which is 20-25 years experience and all that stuff, which is quite tough sometimes. And I think for you, there is everyone coming to you, hey Oli, I need a job, I want to switch a job, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, and all that stuff. I think and where you need to basically, guy, calm down, now we will take this road maybe, or that road. I don't know your approach, but I'm just imagining how tough it is, because you get to different people. Now it's Martin, together it's Oli, and all that stuff.
No, there's so many different scenarios, and I think you touched on an interesting point there around the the people side and technology and how those two interact. Because and I do a lot of work in the Microsoft partner ecosystem, so IT service providers, professional services, where the people that are experts in the technology are also really customer facing, and I spend a lot of my time working with people that are either really technically able, but maybe are struggling to make that transition into that more person-centric role, or likewise people that are already there and are looking to continue on that journey. Because I think one of the things that, and you'll see it in your day to day, is one of the things that I see all the time, is that businesses where they have a lot of challenges, a lot of the time the technology transformation is the easy part. They can architect that out, they can map out what that looks like. But then when it comes to the people side, whether that is getting a solution even signed off and getting, non-technical stakeholders bought into a solution, or whether it's on the other side of it and getting users to adopt it, end to end, there's always people within that. So, and I think as technology continues to advance and we go further down the rabbit hole of AI, etc., that communication from the technical stakeholders in the business to the non-technical stakeholders and marrying those two agendas up is going to become a massive part of everyone's IT career. You're going to have to be able to articulate really complex technology ideas into simple language for non-technical stakeholders.
True. And today, I must be honest. Yeah, today I discussed with one Microsoft person. He was giving a presentation about AI agents and all of that stuff that is happening. He said, Martin, it's really weird that how people are afraid from losing their jobs. I must be honest with that. Basically, they are looking for a use cases where they can automate what they can use AI agents. Yeah, in such a big company, you see just 5 use cases. It's really silly. I know, you go to the people, explain, it will not take your job. It will help you to improve your job. It's quite different. No. This is not a use case. I don't think so that this will fit in what you're saying with the AI agents and this and that it will be connected. Yeah, somebody need to do the data validation. Yeah, but you are the guy that can do that instead of doing the whole manual process, basically. This agent, but it's still going so tough with convincing people that this will help to them, not that it will take their job. And it was a good statement in what he said. Yeah, in 2014-15, everyone was saying, yeah, iron, bare metal, this, that. And then when cloud came, it opened 10,000 different jobs, and the people can go here to work, learn new and all that stuff. And it's really tough, on convincing the people on all of these new technologies.
And I think when it comes to, because that is a big topic of conversation that I have a lot of the time with different people in the ecosystem. And, like you say, there's definitely similarities between that sort of rapid adoption of cloud in the mid sort of 2014-15s and then where we're at with AI. I think the rate of iteration and change and innovation in AI is even more accelerated than it was in public cloud. But I think the journey for people's careers in IT will be similar in that you had infrastructure engineers who were specialists in Hyper-V and VMware and virtualization and Windows Server environments. The people, when Azure and AWS started taking big market share in the infrastructure space, the people that quickly use those baseline infrastructure skills to pivot into being able to migrate and deploy, basic Azure IaaS services, they're the people that ended up now becoming the more senior and most experienced Azure people because they made that pivot earlier. And it's going to be the same in AI. And what you said exactly right. It's going to take away a lot of manual tasks. I think probably if you're a junior mid-level engineer right now in the cloud space, you probably need to be really accelerating your skills around AI because they're the roles where there's a junior or a mid-level person that's doing more manual task based and they've got oversight from a senior. Those manual tasks are probably going to get taken by AI. So it's them making sure they've got skills to govern that AI and be involved in I always talk about this sort of dance between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. So artificial intelligence is going to accelerate, but there's always going to be a need for human intelligence within that feedback loop, ultimately.
True.
Until AI totally takes over and then just turns everything off and just gets rid of us, and then we're not needed anyway. It'll be Terminator.
Did you check I must ask you Tigers one question because 2 months ago I was looking at the how it's called, World Economic Forum PDF about the jobs and all that stuff that till 2030, basically in 5 years from now, there will a lot of roles, less, and there will be a lot of new AI roles open and the company will looking for. So maybe the question that I have for you is, do you see already this type of roles that, I don't know, AI security, AI architect, AI admin, I don't know, AI DevOps, AI ops, I don't know, whatever is there?
Yeah, so there's definitely been some emergence of some new roles. So, just generally like AI engineer or AI consultant and architect. So people that, in the Microsoft world anyway, are specifically focused on leveraging and creating solutions against use cases, like you say, because I think with AI, it's very use case focused. So people that are coming in and able to use Azure Machine Learning Studio, or able to build and architect around Azure OpenAI services, facial recognition within Azure, text to speech, whatever it might be, people that are able to create those solutions. Another role that never used to exist is prompt engineer. So people that are experts in creating in prompts within AI. I think that will be a natural progression. That there will be the emergence of new roles that we don't even know what they are yet, potentially. But we're definitely starting to see that there is that creation of brand new roles, and there probably is already starting to happen. Less demand for certain roles that maybe existed in the past. I think maybe some of those lower level sort of customer support, maybe even sort of first line type roles in IT support will probably start to, degrade in volume, because a lot of that will be able to be done through self-service agents.
Yeah, indeed. What's the most funny role that you have seen?
Most
weird. Yeah, most weird, if I may call like that, so far.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I definitely had some weird mixes of roles. I think one thing that is fairly common, and I think everyone listening has probably either interviewed for a role like it or seen their business try to hire a role, is when businesses try to put 3 roles together because it works in their business. But then going out to market is a very different thing. I've had it before where a company wants an Azure architect, for example, but they want them to be an expert in Azure Data Platform and Azure networking and this. And it's like those camps don't sit together. If someone is specializing in Azure Data Platform, they've come from a data engineering background. If someone is, an expert in Azure infrastructure and platform, they've come from that old infrastructure, VMware, Hyper-V server side. So to get people to cross. So I think that's where the unicorn roles happen, is where companies try to sort of mash different service lines together, where the career trajectory of those people will have been very different. And that's where I spend a lot of my time is working with businesses to actually, manage their expectations in terms of what they can actually achieve in terms of going out to the wider market and being able to hire. So yeah, as I said earlier on, that's where I really enjoy the role. Is it's both sides. It's working with businesses and working with candidates to develop their careers, and working with businesses to develop their teams. So super fun.
Yeah, indeed. And we have seen a lot. But does it happen, for example, in this type of roles? Does maybe, I suppose it's coming from your side, that because you said you're telling to the business the expectation. Does it happen because usually what I have seen also in my experience, the people are looking to you to know everything. And there was, I think, one friend of my friend, another friend, he was quite experienced. This happened 5 years ago. And then he signed up for a vacancy where they were looking, like you said, network, cloud, virtualization, SQL, this, everything. And he went on the interview, and they just started asking, hey, why did you sign up for this vacancy? And he was quite nice and said, I think I know everything. But if I know everything, then you will need to give me a salary like you are a CEO, basically. And then they said, but how you know everything? Yeah, I know everything. Everything that you wrote there, I know everything. Whatever you wish and all the stuff. And they, after 5 minutes, they said, but did you really sign up? Yeah, guys, I came to tell you, because around the world, and it's a gossiping a lot. Yeah, what these people are looking for, this is impossible, basically, to find this type of person and all that stuff. And then he said, thank you, I have a work, but I just wanted to say, if you're planning to take me, or if I'm a good candidate, I want a really good amount of money, like something like your CTO is taking, and I can tell you immediately, I know everything. He went just to make this joke and tell them, hey guys, there is no this type of person. I don't know who from HR was creating this, but something went wrong in the communication, if I may call like that.
Yeah, it's always about depth of knowledge within those areas, because people might have, touched a little bit. They might have put in a Cisco router 10 years ago, so they might know a little bit, but you're never going to get expertise and specialism across all those different technology pillars, because especially in larger organizations, they're siloed teams, right? You've got teams that specialize in networking and infrastructure and cloud and stuff.
Indeed, and it's quite difficult because there is a lot of big organization working with different technologies. Yeah, in my experience, for example, there is a tools and services that I have seen 2-3 times in my experience, to be honest with you, that only 1, 2, 3 companies are using that, but they're quite large, if I may say like that, with a lot of people. And now I'm again in a big companies that is small, but they don't use this service, this tool, at all. But these 3, 4, they are big customers, and basically this company that is providing the service, basically just there. I never heard about, for example, I think it's maybe because it's used with SAP technologies, click view or something like that. So it's refresh of reporting for SAP or some. Never heard. I worked just once. It's quite play pause, like playing movie and all that stuff. But I never seen that after my experience, 2014, 15, something like that.
I think as well, Microsoft are quite good, aren't they? If there is a third-party tool that starts coming to market that starts getting traction, they're quite good at either going and buying it and bringing it into their ecosystem, or deploying at pace and innovating something that is a big competitor to it, because ultimately they just want everyone within the Microsoft bubble, don't they? And we've seen it before where they've gone out and just someone's got market share really quickly as a third-party solution that's specific for Microsoft tools, and they just go and buy it and bring it in and go, this is now called Microsoft this.
And I don't know, maybe I can share that because it's it's part of my experience. Do you know the story about Microsoft Teams, by the way, or not?
No.
I was integrating when Microsoft published officially Microsoft Teams, and then the CEO of the company said, Martin, we were using Skype for Business. So he said, I think, Martin, it's time to migrate all of that and blah, blah, blah. And I started searching. I was never curious about 2012 or 13. Some director from Microsoft went to Slack. Guys, we are giving to you $2 billion basically to buy Slack. And the guy said no. After 1 year, another director, basically the previous one, it's removed from that position. So now it's a new one. 2014. Hey guys, we offer $5 billion. Would you like to sell us Slack? No. The guy is removed. Another lady, I think it is, 2015, mid or 16, something like that. She went to them and said, look, guys, we are giving you the last offer, 7 or 8 billions we are talking, or something like that, some crazy amount. The Slack guy said, no. But the lady was so, so smart. So she said, if you're playing so dirty and you don't want to sell that, we will smash it. And we build the Teams. And that's how it's Teams built. Basically, after 3 or 4 offers, we are talking, I think I cannot imagine the zeros after the first number. I suppose it's some crazy amount and all that stuff. And the lady said, we will build it. So now Teams is there where it is, by the way. And basically, that's how is the story. And indeed, as I really like what you said. Microsoft is quite good on that. Either they buy that or they build it, which is quite tricky.
Yes, you can totally see it as well, because in terms of as a platform, they do the same sort of roles. They're different in terms of features, but if I was Slack's still a good product and it's got good market share still, but I'd rather have the 7 billion in the bank.
That's the best. And then I can build a Slack too, maybe something like that, or some other name or whatever. Indeed, such a crazy, and I think it's quite nice to see, for example, also from my side, that everything, what I really like on the Microsoft ecosystem, because we mentioned it, everything is connected. And I really like when everything is on one place. I don't need to go on one portal, another portal. And I must be honest now, I will tell this, when I was starting IT support, 2006-7, something like that, one company, 10 servers were Windows. So you can put in this, there was a tool, I don't know if still exists, remote desktop manager. So you put all the VMs there. But for Linux, it was SSH. So you need to have a PuTTY and you need to have the IP addresses remembered or something, and so on and so on. So it was always left and right. So you need to monitor the both sides, but it cannot be centralized because this is one ecosystem. Linux was in that period another ecosystem, and basically it was quite difficult in the past. But now everything together, it's really smooth, if I may call like that, and all the stuff and how it works, which is quite good, to be honest.
I remember there was a big Microsoft marketing campaign where they really started to actually, I guess, be a bit more collaborative in terms of working with other ecosystems and other operating systems. And remember this big banner, it's like Microsoft loves Linux with the little penguin on it. And it's like, I think that's ultimately when, Microsoft, I think, pivoted from maybe being in the doldrums a little bit in the, the late 90s, early 2000s. And, with the advent of originally, I guess, Office 365 really on the cloud side, and then that transitioning into Azure, and now what the ecosystem looks like. It's a very, very different business in terms of what it was maybe 30 years ago. And I think one of the really good things about the Microsoft ecosystem in general, and look at this conversation, it is very much centered in its partner ecosystem, its community. It has got this very collaborative nature, and I spend a lot of time talking to MVPs here in the UK and different regions across the world, and there is this sort of really connected ecosystem from Microsoft down into their partner businesses, from Microsoft down into their communities, the MVPs, then even further down into user groups. So I think it's ultimately for Microsoft, it's a really clever commercial strategy because they're basically building all these people up to drive their product and, drive their revenue effectively. But from a technical perspective, it's a really good space to work within because you're never really on your own. If you need to learn something, if you're looking to pivot your career, whatever it might be, there's always people that are, have done something similar, and it's really easy to connect with them, whether that's at a regional level at your user group down the road with a pizza over a beer, or whether that's, coming in and talking to people in different countries. So I do think that's one of the big pluses about the Microsoft ecosystem generally. If I was going to say to someone early in their IT career, maybe if they're coming up through support and they've got a choice between going one way or the other, obviously I'm biased, but I'd always say go towards the Microsoft ecosystem because there's so much support there and there's so much opportunity.
True. And from user level also, we can notice when everything is connected in one ecosystem. For example, I think the perfect example is Apple. I think I'm not sure what you're using. For example, 5 years ago, my most used was Android most of the time. But then when I bought Mac and when I bought the iPhone, and then you see just everything is connecting, everything is on one place, if I may call it like that. So it's what quite... Now I understand why Apple has the most users. Now I understand it because, everything is in one place and stored. If you have Android and you have, for example, usually it goes Android with Windows, then the mobile cannot be connected, this cannot be connected. The Samsung Buds, I think they were called, that cannot be connected and all the stuff. It's so difficult sometimes for those things. But, as we said, it's an ecosystem and it's quite nice to see everything connected and to use that. So I think Microsoft, he's doing a good job and we use that as...
Imagine how good it would have been if Microsoft had nailed the Windows Phone and we could have had a proper, if they come up with a competitive product that was as good, if not better than Apple, and we wouldn't even need the Apple stuff and everything could be Microsoft, but the Windows Phone bit just didn't quite hit the note, did it?
Indeed. I was using, it was a model Windows Phone, I think 720, something like that. It was a nice styles and the menu, but I think they failed because of the market, because there was not a lot Windows market in that period, in my view, because there was not a lot of applications also. It was really specific. I was using, I think 1 year, 2015, 13 or 14 is this. So I remember the camera was not too bad, if I may call it like that. But then I think in that period was the applications on the market. And then Android was quite big in that, Apple already big. So these guys basically were struggling to get the developers to start developing. And I think maybe that is the mistake that now can be fixed. I'm saying like that because now one developer can develop in one tool, and basically that can be exported later for 3 different platforms, in this case, Apple, Microsoft, and Android, which is quite good. But let's see, maybe it will come some AI phone, if I may call it like that.
Yeah.
Indeed. Really nice, really nice. I saw also that you have made Azure certified, and you are Azure certified, if I may call it like that. What are you Azure certified now? Tell me.
So I've just done the fundamentals so far. I did start before Christmas, and one of my colleagues, actually Jack, who works with me at Cloud Decisions, he has done the AZ-104. He does multi-cloud as well, so he's done AWS and GCP. I did start on the route to AZ-104, and then kids and family and time happened.
Indeed.
It's definitely on the roadmap. I guess the central question is, why would a recruiter look to do the Microsoft certifications? And ultimately, from my side, A, it's interesting, and B, it also, going through the process of doing even just the Azure fundamentals and really just drilling down on that knowledge base, specifically within the technology area that I spend my time working within. It just helps on a day-to-day basis. Being able to talk to candidates properly about what they're doing, unpicking, you're doing this project with this customer or this project in your current role, and actually being able to really understand, well, why were they making those design choices? Why did they choose Bicep over Terraform? Being able to understand what their level of knowledge is around best practices of cloud adoption framework and landing zones and all of that, rather than just, for not to sort of beat down on a lot of the rest of the recruitment industry, but recruiters have got a bad name. And I think some of that does come from the, I've seen a keyword, I'm going to assume this person knows this technology. For me and for us, it's all about really understanding, great, you're working in Azure, but what are you doing? What are the specifics? Because ultimately that then helps us match you to a role that's right for you, and also helps our customers find the person that's right for them. So yeah, I think I will definitely at some point get back on the certification journey. It's just a question of time.
So I will expand my kudos to you now again and upload. So good job, mate, and you're doing a great job, because there is a people that really don't understand how important is that they need to know, if I may call it like that, about Azure, the baseline, the foundation, like you. And you learn that just because to know how to handle me, basically, in the communication. If I come to you and if I start talking stupid things, Azure, it's a container, that's not even a cloud. And the HR basically can easily, if I may call like that, can be manipulated sometimes, depends on the knowledge, of course. And it's again, it's quite, for me, motivating and inspiring what you're saying now, that you started learning Azure and all, but you're just recruiting people, and it's really thing. Somehow I have a lot of conversation with HR couple of years ago, and all they're still pinging, and it's always, and what I hate most, hi Martin, we have a project on AWS, can you help us with that? I don't have one line written, only one line on anywhere. Even if you Google my name, you will not find even one line for AWS.
And you still get the roles.
Can you help us with AWS migration? Can you help us with the Elasticsearch? Can you help us with S3 instance with that? And I said, guys, I think it's quite clear. And usually I was, and I'm still working on DevOps, and I specifically write there Azure DevOps, not just senior DevOps, but senior Azure DevOps, just to be mentioned that, these guys working Azure. It's obvious. I mean, here it's not AWS, it's not GCP, it's not Alibaba or whatever their cloud provider it is. Just to clarify, and it's really sometimes frustrating that the people don't do their even homework.
No, and it'd be really interesting to know, like, how they're sort of searching to find people like you that, like you say, literally haven't got AWS on it, because obviously it's never a perfect science in recruitment. I'll have times where, especially if people have maybe done a bit of Azure or a bit of AWS, they might have searched on both sides of it. Sometimes it is a flip of the coin. It's like, well, let's see, they might be multi-cloud and happy to do like go and specialize in Azure or want to keep on the AWS track. It might be that they've done a bit of both, but they're more AWS leaning. So it's never a perfect science. And, I'm always really open and honest with people. If they come back and say, actually, although I've got Azure and AWS, I'm more AWS focused, and like that's fine. And that's probably not, I'm probably not the right person to help you. But the fact that you've got none of those technologies on your LinkedIn profile is crazy.
Indeed. We have an echo coming from either Martin or from Oli. Oli, is it from you or from me? From my side, I think it should not be anything, if I may be honest. Thank you, Christian, for that.
Let me try and change my audio output. Hang on. Can you still hear me, Martin? Can I hear you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hang on. Let me drop that off 2 seconds.
No worries.
Yeah, right. I think hopefully that will help it. I did have a little Bluetooth speaker on. Maybe that was bypassing the noise cancellation on my microphone. So hopefully that's sorted the issue for people.
Yeah, now I cannot hear myself, so I think it's okay, Oli. So you don't need to worry. So yeah, indeed, good. Thank you, Christian, mate, again about this. Basically, it's really nice discussion. I must be honest, and after so many, if I may call it like that, so many recruited people in your experience, what is the most searched job, if I may call like that? First of all, there is two sides, business, as you said, and the people. First of all, I'm curious to know what the people are searching, what they're interested in, because there is a lot of, for example, people looking security, they don't know where to go, what to do, and all that stuff. But also we touch upon a little bit for UK before the going live also, that a lot of job opportunities opened basically in UK in the last 2 years, if I may say like that. Yeah. So I'm curious to know, what business is looking and what the people are looking, if I may say like that.
Yeah. So I think it comes into a couple of parts, really. I think if we start thinking about the types of skills within Azure that organizations generally are looking for right now, I think over the last probably couple of years, we've seen a little bit of a normalization of Azure infrastructure and platform skills. So if I wind back to the early days of working and recruiting in Azure, 2017, 18, it was if someone has used ARM templates before, they are the best thing ever. And then that sort of started to mature a little bit. And it's like, well, okay, if people are using Azure DevOps as well as ARM templates, then that's great. And then fast forward to, probably where we're at now, where, big prerequisites are around being able to deploy into landing zones and knowing policies and governance, as well as infrastructure as code, as well as DevOps. But with that time period between then and now, a lot of people that were still doing that transition through from the infrastructure side of things, and businesses as well transitioning into the cloud, that sort of baseline skill knowledge in Azure is much higher in terms of availability of candidates. So where we're then seeing a lot of the demand, especially on our side, because a lot of the time we get called in when it's hard to find types of skills. So I'd say that sort of platform and infrastructure side is becoming more normalized and is becoming sort of a more broadly available skill set. But then, like you said, where the big challenges for businesses are, and I think anyone working in the Azure space, if you're working broadly-ish within Azure and you want to specialize, then data platform and building into that AI and security are probably the two most in-demand specializations now. I think probably within that as well, cloud native and app modernization and innovation. So it's almost any role that's taking you up that technology stack away from just the baseline infrastructure and platform and having a specialization is where we're seeing a lot of demand. So like the start of this year, a lot of demand for data platform. I think two things driving that. Microsoft are really pushing adoption of Fabric. So that's coming down into the partner ecosystem and obviously into organizations that are Microsoft managed are getting good offers and good opportunities to get funding for adopting Fabric. So that's a big driver behind the skills needed there. I also think a lot of organizations are building or optimizing or re-architecting their existing data platform to then unlock the next stage of transformation and innovation, which is to move into predictive models and machine learning and AI, but you can't get there until you've done the data platform. So definitely lots of opportunities in data engineering, data platform, data architecture, likewise in security. So obviously in the last, 5 years, Microsoft have invested billions in their security products. So if you look at everything around their XDR product suites, Defender, Sentinel, that specialization is probably as in demand as data platform, because alongside the need to accelerate and innovate data platform to get to a point where you can unlock AI, you don't want to be doing any of that if you haven't got a really secure environment. So those two, and then I think probably, as I say, not too far behind, probably not quite as in demand right now. Just security and data just seem to be the hot ones at the moment, but there's always real high demand for app innovation and cloud native. So anything around containers, Azure Kubernetes services, people that have come from a software development background and are now working on application architecture within Azure. So yeah, generally speaking, I'd say anyone working in the Azure space, and I focus on Azure within the Microsoft ecosystem because that's where I spend my time. But yeah, I think anyone that's got the ability to specialize in one of those core areas, cloud native, data, or security, you're going to put yourself in a position where there's more opportunities, you're more in demand in terms of skill set, and ultimately means you can demand higher salaries. And I think it's similar on the business side of things in terms of what a business is doing right now and what types of roles are they hiring. I think that's it's kind of a supply and demand relationship between what opportunities are out there for people and what companies are trying to hire.
That's nice to hear, and you made a really nice distinction, if I may call it that. And indeed, I'm curious, is there a know how it's called? I have seen, for example, for this site, or what I got as a messages from people in the last couple of months, some type of platform engineer, if I may call it like that. So I see that a lot of people, also a lot of companies, I mean, that I have got the messages, if I may call it like that. We are looking for a platform engineer. We are working this. Are you available? Are you this? Are you that? And all that stuff. And I think that's also part of what you said, because in the platform engineering, it comes also the containers, the cloud native, and all that stuff, if I may call it like that, because there is a small transformation, if I may call it like that, because the companies, also the business side, now is switching to use the platform on platform, it's called, basically, where we see all of these products and how it's moving, which is that does not exist, but in the past was administrator, IT support, as you said, also customer support. DevOps engineers were everywhere. The people were looking for this type of people, if I may call it. But now somehow it's less, and it's becoming more platform engineer and all that stuff.
DevOps engineers obviously still exist, but I think there is a shift towards this sort of this platform engineering model where they're not just solely focused on the DevOps part of it. DevOps is obviously an element of platform engineering, but so is, like you say, the infrastructure as code side of things and the container side of things. And I think what you find in a lot of platform engineering roles is they tend to be a real blend between operational and optimization of an existing solution in Azure, but then also working to iterate, to innovate, to re-architect and work alongside architecture teams to deliver new services into production. I think a lot of the time as well, what I see anyway is platform engineering teams are always quite closely linked to development teams. So the platform engineering team is there to normally drive the underlying platform and infrastructure, which then the development teams can then come in and deliver their development life cycles and their products on top of. So there's always a real sort of cross-functional relationship between platform engineering, or if it's a DevOps name role, and the developer teams, because they're working in conjunction to effectively achieve the same goal, which is deliver product or application or service. They're just coming at it from slightly different angles.
That's quite nice explanation. It's quite nice touchable point that the both are basically quite close and they work together, if I may call like that. And then all the stuff that is happening and this shifting, as you said, that was maybe the word that I need to use instead of the DevOps are not that they not exist, but basically it's a small shift, if I may call it, like you said, basically on everything that is happening now is the shift goes on another direction. And I think there was one book I have, maybe maybe not. It was recommended to me. So it's about this type of team topologies.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the latest one, and I know a lot of companies. I mean, I have seen to some conferences also people, read the book. That's basically here. It's explained that shift previously was the DevOps handbook, if you remember the yellow one. Yeah. So now it's this book because the shift is from DevOps a little bit on the platform, exactly on what we're discussing now. So a lot of people recommended this book. I bought couple of weeks ago, and basically I still need to start reading it. If I may say it like that, I still didn't read. But let's see.
I think one of the things is, whether you're thinking about your own career in whatever technology discipline you work within, whether that's Microsoft or another, or whether you're a business, needing to hire, I think that there's a tendency for both sides to think that the world that they're working within is static, and it's not. It's so dynamic. The job role that they're doing now is changing. The job role that they're going to go into the future is changing, and those businesses that they're going to go and work for are changing because ultimately the technology is changing as well. You just think about Azure, how many new product updates, releases into general availability do we get every week, every month? So as that rate of change of technology happens, the makeup of your own job role in what you're doing right now and the tech stack that you're working within, or the roles that you're going to go do in the future, they're always moving, they're always changing. So I think it's just really important from a sort of a skills development side to make sure that you're keeping up with that. And even if you're not getting an opportunity to, deploy them into production environments in your current role, at least, doing the certifications or playing around with these new services and these new tools in your home labs. When it comes to a point, if you do want to move careers, then you're putting yourself in a good place where you've at least got some hands-on experience and understanding of it. It's all about just keeping up with the rate of change. It's been that way since Azure and public cloud started, and it's going to become even more important as AI starts to take a hold in businesses.
Indeed. And mate, how tough is for you, if I may ask like that, how tough is to follow all of these changes? For example, now looking at me, MVP, MCT this, MCT that, or whatever is there. It's really tough for me as a working every day with those technologies. How tough is for you from that side? You think it's more tougher because you're not directly included in this day to day? Because
I think it's maybe easier. And I think the reason I think it's easier is because you've got a day job that you have to get on with, and you have to be doing the thing during the day and then also learning as you go in. Yeah. My day job is talking to people about this stuff all the time. So I spend hours talking to people every day, whether that's clients or candidates. So I get my learning and my knowledge sharing from just the groundwork of being on the ground and talking to people that are working day to day in this space. So what that does is it opens up the whole of my working day effectively to be learning about it. So I think I'm quite lucky in that respect, in that I don't have to spend my work day doing the work and then my evenings doing the learning. Actually, my job of doing what I do enables me to have these conversations with, really good top quality MVPs or architects, and I just learn from them as I go, really. And it's been similar as well, because I speak to a lot of people as they're going into potentially looking to move roles about the power of LinkedIn and how that can be leveraged. And one of the things that I get is, because I post every day on LinkedIn without fail, whether that's video or text or whatever. And people are like, I don't see how you find the time. I'm like, well, I'm lucky because actually it's my job to do that. Like, part of my job is to use LinkedIn as an attraction platform. So I've got 8 hours a day that I can do it at some point in that 8 hours. Whereas I appreciate if you're looking for a new role, you don't want to be too open about it on LinkedIn, and it is difficult to find the time to create the content. So yeah, I think in short, I'm quite lucky that my working life is talking to people, and I just make sure that I learn as I go when I'm talking to people and keep up with it that way.
That's quite interesting to hear, to be honest, and quite funny. Before I say, I have a lot of questions came to my mind now, but let me just focus a little bit. Yeah. What are the most companies looking, remote or in person now? Because what I see usually now, I see companies looking for more come to the office guys. Let's socialize now after what happened with all of that COVID and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So is it the same feeling for you, or there? I think the pressure for you is the candidates now don't want to go to the office,
Yeah.
and the business is saying, "Yeah, guys, come. The doors are open. We can have a drinks and pizzas and whatever there."
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. So I think there's been this really interesting dance happening with this whole topic,
True.
and I think again it comes back to almost supply and demand. So back of COVID, everyone had to go remote anyway. And then out the back of COVID, everyone got used to working at home and really liked it. And a lot of tech businesses or tech teams needed to hire at scale because there was so much transformation going on around the remote working piece and around cloud adoption. They needed the people wanted to work remote. So there was this trade-off where it's like, well, we need the people, they want to be remote, we'll let them be remote. And then we got out the back of COVID, businesses then started maybe drawing back on hiring a little bit. There was a little bit of a phase, especially in the UK, probably the start of 2023, where a lot of the big tech companies made redundancies. Yeah. That then means that there's more candidates available, but less jobs. So then the employers ended up in a stronger position to say, well, actually, there's more people that want these jobs than we've got. So if you want one of these jobs, you can come into the office 2 to 3 days a week. So there's this sort of power play back and forth with who actually had and held the cards and who could, push the agenda harder. I think we're probably at a point now where that balance is maybe going to shift again. I think that we're going to find a space where there are more vacancies than there are available candidates in the next sort of 12 to 18 months. And I think what we'll see some businesses where, especially the larger businesses or big city-based businesses, you think about London, you think about the cost base of a business having, 10 floors in Canary Wharf. They're going to want to get their bang for buck on that. And those types of businesses will probably just be like, well, we will only hire people if they can come in 2, 3, 4 days a week or whatever. The other businesses that are more dynamic, I think definitely smaller size organizations, I think they will still keep a good degree of remote or at least sort of really low hybrid considerations. I've got a conspiracy theory for you as well. And it's aimed at Amazon.
Yeah.
But Amazon had pushed in, or back end of last year, made this big announcement that they are going 5 days a week in office, and trying to sort of quite prescriptively push that. That's just an example of one. There's lots of organizations that have done it. My conspiracy theory is that some organizations have the ability to use that as a way to quite quietly reduce headcount, because if they've got everyone that's been working remotely and they're going, actually, we need to get rid of 20% of the people here. Well, if you make everyone come into the office, people are going to start leaving. So you don't have to make redundancies. You get people back into the office, which you always wanted anyway. You just deal with the attrition, and actually the attrition that comes with that is what you wanted in the end. So that's my conspiracy theory on it. Sorry, Amazon, don't come after me, Jeff Bezos.
Indeed. And I have I think it was 2 weeks ago, one parent of kid that the kid is playing with my daughter some sports. So the parent is working completely different business of us, not even Microsoft. I think real estate, something in London and some other countries. He said, Martin, it's really weird. We are around 20, 22, 3 people. It's not a big company. It's quite small company. We notice even now we're trying, hey guys, let's have a barbecue, come to the office often. Nobody's acting anything, no reply, no message, or they will change the topic in group WhatsApp, if I may call it that message. Hey, are we going tomorrow in the office? No answer. And then after 2-3 hours, somebody, hey, did you watch this football match? Did you? Everyone is ignoring.
Yeah.
Like that question does not exist, if I may call it like that.
Yeah.
Which is quite tricky. And usually we have a joke in the office. When we go and there is a colleague, yeah, I got stuck in the traffic jam, this and that, and then somebody will show his head. Imagine a couple of years ago, the people were going 5 days per week in office every day, not just these 2 days, and all that stuff. So just to motivate and all that stuff, how tough it was.
There definitely is as well. There definitely is a a cohort of people. I'm fully remote. I'm lucky. I've got a really nice garden office. And I would never want to go and work day to day in an office now that I've been 6 years working fully remotely. But I do talk to candidates, definitely several per week, where if it is a fully remote role, that is the opposite of what they want. They want one where they have got the opportunity to go into an office. Now, I don't think people like it being prescriptive in terms of you have to come in 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But there's definitely a cohort of people that like the idea of being within an hour and a half of the office. And when they do get sick of their own company, they can go into the office, a few times a month. I think the best way with hybrid, if you're going to have hybrid, is recruit within a 2-hour radius of your office, put in some loose parameters that, we want you in the office 4 times a month, but don't be prescriptive that it has to be once a week or it has to be certain days. Leave that in the control of the employee to decide. Then you kind of get the best of both worlds, where the power and control of when they work and how they work still with the employee. Recruit people still within a large enough radius to have good talent pools. And then I think everyone wins in that sort of scenario, because it's really mainly remote, but with some requirement to get into office. But I think it's a dance we'll keep on seeing.
Yeah. What I have seen in the last 5 months, to be honest, because in my team we are recruiting some people. We are looking for some people, and I see a lot. I was searching what is the market, to be honest, a couple of months ago and all that stuff. I see that in the vacancies they put it the last sentence is the office days are, for example, Monday and Wednesday, in brackets, it's must. You must come to the office, and these are the 2 days. So be aware, whoever applies to that vacancy and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. So that's a little bit immediately gives you, I don't know, as a different feeling, if I may say, like, why now must? Maybe I would like to work in Monday, because Monday it's starting the week. In Sunday you get stuck. There was a birthday party, whatever there. We stayed late and all that stuff. But there is a lot of, I see, vacancies, if I may say, where they say, 2 days, these 2 days, and that's it, defined. Basically, there is not your choice. It's already the choice is made, and basically it's quite difficult. But back to the topic, because usually, how to say, in my experience, I usually put there is not, for me, or in my experience, there is not something in between. There is a good and bad. We talk a lot about the good, how the people can improve, if I may call it, what's your experience and all that stuff. But we have seen a lot of layoffs from big companies, especially. What is happening, if I may call it that, with this type of person? I have seen a lot of LinkedIn. I'm open for work, open for this, open. And now I will connect this question also, open for work, on that. It helps to you guys, to the HR guys, to the talent directors, if I may call it that. So I don't like the HR guys, by the way. So I like more this talent something. So I want to say, how that helped to you guys, because there is a lot of layoffs in the last 2025. In the last 3 years, I have seen a lot of companies said, guys, bye. So please find a new job and all that stuff.
So it's definitely difficult, and I think I try where possible to spend time where there is with people in those sort of situations. I generally, a lot of my time, because it's spent at the sort of the sharp end of the skills market, And obviously there's a commercial relationship between me and my clients. They're paying me to go and find people. They're normally the hard to find roles, and they want really specialist type skills, or they've got really prescriptive requirements. And generally speaking, they're the people that are less likely to have been made redundant. So if there's a cohort of, 20 people up for redundancy within a team, if it's a Microsoft aligned business, the chances are their two best Azure architects aren't the people that are going to be made redundant. So it is a real sort of conflicting thing, because, naturally you want to try and help out the people that have been made redundant and they're in a sticky situation. And there's loads of examples of when I've been able to do that. But the flip side is, a lot of the time, the roles that we work on are quite specialist, and a lot of the time that is going into the talent markets of maybe people that are still normally people that are still in role, and actually trying to convince them out of their current role. I think, I don't know if you've ever seen it, I think it might be in the recruiter world that I see a lot of it, but this whole debate on LinkedIn about, is the green open to work banner a good or bad thing? I just don't get why it would be a bad thing. I don't know.
I'm not sure if I can share. Yeah, there was in my previous, I can discuss on that, not for the current, but in the previous company there was, for example, there was in the agreement, it was saying you should not change basically on the social network that you are looking for a job. You need just to be, and if you see a job, you can apply, if I may call it. That's the rules, but you should not, put yourself on the market, basically, and you're still working for some company, if I make summarize like that. So that I still can't understand, to be honest. But sometimes it's also, I think, if company-wise, if I'm putting also myself to the other side, or you put yourself in the other side, you are the CEO of the company, and then you see 5 people from your company open for work, they publish that, but they still work at your company, if I may call it that. I think it's not a nice feeling, if I may call it that.
No, definitely. And I think if my advice would always be, if you're in a role, don't put on your green banner, because ultimately, until you find a new role, you really don't want your current employer to know, because you might end up staying there anyway. But there's still this debate that I see anyway, that even if you're out of work and you've been made redundant or whatever, that the green banner is a bad thing to do. Which I just don't get. If you're not working, for me as a recruiter anyway, have your green banner on, because we scroll through thousands of profiles a week, like literally scrolling through to get through to search through and find specifics. So if there's a good person and they've got their green banner on, then that person, just visually in terms of looking through the profiles, is gonna jump out more. So yeah, if you've got a job, don't put your green banner on. But if you can on LinkedIn, and I don't know if people may or may not know this, but on LinkedIn, when you turn yourself open to work, I think there's a selection for that to be public or that to be just to recruiters. And the way that we work within LinkedIn, we work on the back end of LinkedIn normally through either Sales Navigator, or I use LinkedIn Recruiter. So you can put that on and select only show recruiters that you're open to work. And also anyone that has got access to those tools within LinkedIn. So let's say you've got a sales team or an internal talent team that have got access to LinkedIn Recruiter. If you're on the same company as them on LinkedIn, they can't see that you're open to work. So if you work for HSBC and you put yourself open to work, HSBC's internal talent acquisition team can't see that you've turned on open to work. So there is a privacy wall there that LinkedIn have built in, so that your people in your business that have got access to the back end don't know that you're open to work. So if you're going to start looking, I would always turn on your open to work, because you're going to get more inquiries. And if you really don't want to be contacted, make sure that it's turned off.
Turn off, indeed. Yeah, that's quite interesting and nice to hear as advice. Thank you about that, Oli. And how, I must be honest, maybe it's me, maybe you can say more from your perspective, but somehow I think there is a lot of people that I have seen that they don't have a LinkedIn, and I think that's a first mistake. Or whoever is starting, I'm usually saying, do you have a LinkedIn? No. Do you have this? No. Then where do you look for the job? yeah, I'm looking for the vacancies, this and that, and blah blah blah. So I think it's your leverage a lot, and it helped a lot to you guys, if I may call it that, as LinkedIn as a big game changer. I don't know the function on this, as you said. I know there is additional tools. So LinkedIn, I didn't know about LinkedIn Recruiter, that this, that, and so on, that can go so deep dive, if I may call it that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as within LinkedIn Recruiter, anyone that uses that, either on agency side or in internal talent acquisition teams, can run really deep searches on years of experience, on skill sets, on keywords, on job titles.
Wow.
So that's how we build our talent pools effectively. I think in terms of in today's IT world, I think if you haven't got a LinkedIn profile, you are massively hampering your career opportunities. Me personally, I do not use any other platforms to talk to people about jobs. So I post all of my jobs on LinkedIn Jobs, and I talk to all of my candidates through LinkedIn. I used to have the traditional job boards. So here in the UK, like Indeed and Job Site and CV Library, we used to have access to the databases. We used to post and advertise vacancies on them as well. And last year we got rid of all of it, and everything is just on LinkedIn now, because it is, for us, there is enough good quality engagement, which is fueled by the work that we do in terms of our own personal branding on it. I had an example probably back end of last year. I had as a Microsoft 365 architect contract, and I posted it out on LinkedIn, and all I did was post contract, day rate, 4 bullet points about the job title. I could have filled that role 30 times over just by one LinkedIn post. So if you're not on LinkedIn and you're just relying on the traditional job boards, you've not even got access to that opportunity. So my advice for anyone, ideally, as you're just going through your career, I think you should be nurturing constantly your own LinkedIn profile. You should be keeping up to date as a semi CV. I think you should be networking and connecting with people, and building relationships and commenting, and building actual relationships with on the platform. Now, I appreciate that there is a time element to that, but as a very, very minimum, you should have a profile that you update probably every 6 months. You set up job alerts, but yeah, for me, and the other flip side is we did an analysis of, can't remember what it was, but a good number of hiring managers across businesses that we work with, and the response was that 70% of hiring managers will look at someone's LinkedIn profile before they go onto their interview. So normally, what tends to happen is 5 minutes before the call, they're going on with Dave Smith. And they'll go, right, before I talk to Dave Smith, I'm going to quickly, there's Dave Smith. Yeah, he's an infrastructure engineer. That's the right guy. And they'll just have a quick look through it, and it just gives them an extra bit of insight. So if you haven't got that, you're giving the hiring business less information. If you've got a really active profile, then I just think you're putting yourself in a stronger position career-wise. And even if that you don't think you're going to want to move for 2, 3, 4 years, you're still building up a network and a community of people where that right opportunity is more likely to land with you if you're in the right ecosystem and you create your own ecosystem within LinkedIn.
True. Indeed. And what type of news you want to follow, what type of people you want to follow, and all that stuff. So that's quite nice. I lost one question that I wanted to ask for the previous question. Now it came back again. Do you see these layoffs are happening because of comfort zone of the candidates, or because it's of not enough learning or gaining new skills, if I may call like that?
So I think definitely, if we look at last year, I think the layoffs predominantly would have been sort of business driven. So in the IT service sector, especially in the UK, I think what we saw was a little bit of stagnation in the economy, which then led to less project pipeline for organizations, and organizations that are in that sort of IT service space, they will put people on the bench for a certain amount of time, but there's only so long that they'll want to keep people on the bench without them having projects. So they'll sort of unfortunately get pushed out. Again, it does kind of lead me back to who is more likely to be made redundant in that scenario, though. And I think you can protect yourself in some way. Is it always going to work? No. I think ultimately, if the business is on a big drive to save costs or increase profit or whatever it might be, then that sometimes ends up being the driver. But I think if you're proactive within your organization, and for example, if you are on the bench in an IT service company, you're working on an internal project, get yourself involved in some internal projects, process development, whatever it might be, doing your certifications, keeping yourself super active and busy. So, you're showing that you're busy and passionate is definitely one thing. I think in terms of internal roles, if you're working, within a Microsoft aligned business, whether that's, a SMC or an enterprise organization, I still think there's lots that you can do. I think, again, learning and development is key and central to it. I think look at where you've maybe got cross-functional skills. If, the DevOps pipeline project that you were meant to be working on has been put on hold because of budget, is there another part of your skill set that you can go and leverage within the organization and work with the organization to try and work out what that might be? So yeah, I think there's stuff you can do that, probably helps during that consultation process. But is it ever anyone's fault that they get laid off? Ultimately, I don't think it's ever at the individual level. I think it's always down to business driver and economic drivers.
Yeah. Okay, that's clear indeed. And wow, Oli. 1 hour 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah. I'm surprised. Yeah. I have 2 questions, I think, left in my view. So the one question is first, for example, what you as a HR are looking for? Because I heard a lot of people saying, the talent people are checking the keywords. If you don't contain that keyword in the CV, they immediately don't even see your CV or that type of stuff. And then I heard, there is some type of a one-pager CV where you fill all of that. You need to be a little bit creative. That's the one question. What's your opinion about that? And my second question is, are those medals behind you, it's running or something else?
Yeah, I'll start with the medals because that's the easy one. Which side are they? Yeah. So they're all running. So I think the last 3 years, lots of sort of half marathons, some 10Ks, 3 marathons. I'm semi-retired at the moment though, because I'm too tired from having a little baby that I've knocked it on the head for a little bit. And then I forgot what the first question was.
Yeah.
I knew that would happen.
No. It's a different type of category, but I just want to share the 2 questions because I didn't want to get stuck. And I think I took a lot of time also from your private time. So again, and all the stuff. What it's the best approach, or what you as a talent people are looking from the candidates? You're looking for a one-pager CV, keyword CV, as some call that, or it's a, I don't know, mix. For example, I didn't update in the last year and something my CV. My CV is around 5 pages. Does that will be taken in consideration, for example, if I may call it like that?
So I've seen on different social media platforms and sort of the public discourse, this thing around sort of AI ATSs. So you're submitting your CV and you're just getting rejected at the point of the ATS, and it's doing some AI scanning. Personally, out of all of the businesses that I work with, or the tooling that we use personally, I've not seen any tooling like that will make an absolute black and white decision based on how your CV is formatted or the volume of keywords. What there is in a lot of those platforms is when you're going through the application process, there will be mandatory questions within that, and there will be filters set by the hiring company or by the agency that will be set to reject if one of those criteria isn't met. So, for example, if it was, say, in the UK, you must be able to achieve security clearance, or, there'll be questions like that. Have you got a minimum of 5 years experience within Azure? If there's a written question like that and an answer, then that can be used to reject. Personally, I've not seen any tooling or any of our customers using tooling that will just auto reject a CV based on the actual content of the CV. When it comes to length, number of pages, keywords, I personally am very anti the sort of one-page CV approach. I just don't think that you can unless you're early career. I don't think you can possibly get the level of information in there that you need. My personal advice is to give, if I was going to format a CV from scratch now, I would have personal statement. I would have Microsoft certifications. I would have a skills matrix of key technologies that I've worked within. So the certifications and the skills matrix is going to hit keyword searches, because you're going to have in there, Azure DevOps or data platform, whatever it might be. So you're going to have that. Normally for me, that would be most of page one. So profile, certifications, keywords, maybe the start of your career experience. I would then have the rest of page one and page two dedicated to probably the last 2 to 3 years experience in a bit more detail. And then as you go further back, you should be, as you're talking about roles that are between 4 to 6 years, you should be talking a sentence or two about each one of them. And for me, anything that's older than 6, 7 years old, it should just be job title, company, years that you work there. And in that, I think you can get down to 3 or 4 pages. I think you want to try and stay under 4 pages is normally what my advice would be. And as you go further back through your career history, you should start narrowing down how much information you get. Because I get CVs, I've had CVs in the past where there's more information on what they did in 2011 than there is in what they're doing in their current role now. And it's just the other way around. So yeah, keywords, focus on certification skills, more information for the most recent roles. As you go back through your career history, start stripping it out, and anything over 7 years old, just have the job title and nothing else.
Indeed. I have a tricky question on this question. Why the education is completely ignored? Does that person has finished any education, if I may call like that?
Yeah, so I would always put education at the end of the CV.
No, it's not about you. I have seen on the other also interviews, they look, as you said, certification, keyword, technology based. Nobody's asking, did you finish university? Did you learn that? Did you watch Udemy courses or Microsoft trainings or whatever is there? So somehow, do you feel the same, that it's a little bit forgotten maybe, or something like that? Or it's just in my head?
I think the way that hiring managers view it a lot of the time is that I think it's good to be able to show that you're going through that process and you're doing that learning. But I think ultimately a lot of the time, if you're in a hiring position, you want to see the validation of that education. So you want to see the certification that's been awarded. So that's why I would always put certifications on page one. And then as a sort of appendix towards the end, have, if you are doing those sort of courses, or you're, studying towards 3 different certifications or whatever it might be, then putting that in there as well. And then things like university education in there afterwards. Again, slightly different if you're early careers. So if you're, looking for your first job, or you're only the first couple of years into your IT career, then you can use things like your university education to talk about university projects, and you can flesh that out. So it depends where you're at in your career in terms of where you prioritize the information.
Yeah. Indeed. Very nice. Indeed. I will summarize quickly what Oli said. So 3-4 pages CV. First of all, your personal certificates and all that stuff. The most looking at, if I remember good, vacancies on the market: security, data platform, and cloud native and containers. So I think now maybe it will sound really maybe stupid from my side, but if Oli found at the time as an HR or talent director to learn Azure 900, nobody can say I cannot learn Azure this, Azure that, or cloud, or infra, or data, or fabric, or whatever, because at the end of the day, guys, on the MS Learn portal, that is always what I'm saying, it's free. It's completely free. Nobody's asking for debit card, credit card, or whatever is there. Nobody's asking cash money. So I would really like, sometimes the feeling people, where I can find it and this and that. And I said, look, on so many free tools on the internet, you're asking me where to find it. That's really, I don't know how to answer sometimes, either rude or real.
Especially within the Azure space, within the Microsoft ecosystem, we're very lucky that we've got John Saville and everything that he posts out. So a combination of Microsoft Learn, John Saville, and practice exams, and you should be able to pass pretty much everything if you're working in the Azure world.
Indeed. I would like to thank you a lot.
Thanks very much.
Perfect evening. I think we can discuss. I see now this is the first time we ever met. For those who will watch this video or watching, this first met between me and Oli. And I think if we stay 3 hours, we can talk about Azure and all that stuff. I see. And when
that's
I saw now
what
1
happens
hour,
when you give a recruiter a microphone, Martin. He'll just keep talking.
Yeah. I think I'm ready to switch careers. Only maybe we should have a separate discussion.
Yeah.
Indeed. I would like to thank you. Keep the great job that you're doing, mate. You're really doing a great job, and I really mean that what you're doing. I hope more successful, companies will contact you, and more good candidates will contact you, where you can guide and connect the dots, if I may call it like that. I really appreciate for your time, and have a nice evening, all. And thanks for watching me, Oli.
No, absolutely, really appreciate it. And if anyone wants to listen to me talking about the Microsoft world in more detail, then you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I run my own podcast as well, Microsoft Mentors. So that's coming into series 2 now as well. So I'll be jumping onto people's feeds in podcasts, and I'll be in the host seat rather than the guest seat again very soon. So, but yeah, Martin, really appreciate the time. It's been fun, and yeah, I'm sure we'll talk again in the near future, mate.
Indeed, and very nice advices for the people. Again, mate, kudos and everything. I will leave you now and to enjoy with the family and with the baby, especially, so you can play around and all that. If it's not sleeping, of course, but hopefully, I suppose it's already.
I'm
hopefully,
going to sleep when I get back into the house, so I can sit and have my dinner and not have any stress.
Indeed. Thanks all for watching. Wishing you a nice evening and see you. Bye.
See you later, guys.
Bye.